Recently, Bungie put out the new Crucible mode Checkmate into Crucible Labs. Well, it's not really a mode, but rather a giant modifier that they can place onto a game mode. The first couple of weeks is for control. Checkmate does the following. It increases your HP by about 20 points. It cuts ability regen speeds in half and cuts super gains by 40%. You also only get special ammo when you fill up a meter in your buffs area, which is filled by, doing stuff. Otherwise, people do not drop any ammo on the ground. Power ammo is still around, though. It's around a lot. So I played this for a few hours recently, and I cannot tell you how refreshing it is to actually engage with the target and most of the time have the result of that engagement end with someone just shooting the other person. Not every single engagement has a grenade thrown, a rift drop, a wall placed. It's just a lot of shooting guns. The primary reason I avoid PvP nowadays has been because every single engagement feels like there's gotta be a grenade thrown in. Someone's gotta drop a rift, flick a couple of ranged melees at me, and then guns come last. It is incredibly frustrating, and I hope that Checkmate shows Bungie that it's okay to slow it down in PvP a little bit. I feel like Bungie really harps on the whole, we want people to be able to bring anything anywhere and just have it work the same philosophy a lot. But as we power creep more and more in PvE, that does translate over to PvP as well. All those adjustments to ability timers and everything way back when feel like they've crept right back up. It's okay to have some crazy stuff still available in PvP, but Bungie, I hope this modifier shows that it's okay to slow things down and still have the game feel like Destiny at the end of the day. Special ammo felt pretty mostly okay. I love that the start of a match basically just had primaries and your grenade, although it took some getting used to because I just don't have that muscle memory of don't peek here because they're going to be sniped. Oh, right, they don't have ammo. Right. It is definitely a bit harder to tell who has special ammo and who doesn't past a certain part of the game, but that's not really too different from normal PvP anyway. It can get slightly snowbally, though. If someone frags out at the start, getting special before anyone else can, then they can steamroll that forward. Although that didn't ever feel like something that I experienced. If it was happening, it didn't feel like it was happening. Because I know I'm only going to get a limited amount every so often, it did make using my special ammo something that I tried to be a little more cautious about. It also tended to open up certain parts of a map. Like if I didn't have any shotgun ammo, well, I'm definitely not going into the middle of Endless Vale or any tight range areas. That kept me a bit more in check, which is a positive and a negative, though. Sometimes it felt like I only had a couple of places in a map where I could be effective, whereas in regular PvP, if I die, I just get a couple more shots in my special and I can roam wherever I want. On the other hand, because I knew I wasn't going to be effective in certain spots, I was more inclined to put myself in a spot where I would be more effective. Also interesting to know is that you don't generate special ammo points if you don't have a special weapon equipped, so no swapping off of double primary in order to get some special ammo. Power ammo spawns a bit too frequently for my likes as well. I know this is a weird contrast to the past because we literally started D2 with double primaries, so I've been seeing some feedback of we hated this back then, why do we like it now? And I mean, for starters, it's not one-to-one, okay? Destiny 2 at launch versus Destiny 2 now are almost completely different games. We've had tons of iterations and system updates since then that I don't really feel like it's fair to compare the two. Exotics, build crafting, skill trees, none of that is remotely the same. Even movement wasn't anywhere close to the same as it is now. It wasn't as refined as it is now. I would rather liken this modifier to D1 PvP more than I would launch D2, although D1 wasn't nearly as fast, or rather didn't feel as fast. I know we had some pretty crazy movement tech in D1. My number one gripe about the mode is that the games are far too short. I would love to see the score limit bumped up to 150, at least 125. I've had a game as short as 4 minutes that went to the score cap. Games are an average of 5 minutes. Low population causes rather long queues, so I feel like almost half my time playing is spent in orbit, waiting to load into the match or waiting to go back to orbit. I want longer games to reduce time spent not actually playing. There were plenty of games where I, as an Arc Titan, did not even get my super with an average performance, unless I was using bad juju, which I unironically did like using, mostly. I was frequently killed by the likes of Dawnblade and Golden Gun, though, which gain even more value in this mode as a way to try to end the game for your team with their massive kill potential. Well of Radiance was also very frequent, and if you were among the first to get your super, then there was just very little you could do about a well being on the map. It was just like, well, I'm going to just avoid that spot for the next 30 seconds. Fighting Lion can also die in a fire, but me hitting GLs in PvP is nothing remotely new. I didn't encounter too many bows on the first day, but on the second day, I saw them a lot, and they were also pretty annoying, but I do also find bows very annoying in PvP gameplay anyway, so that's nothing new either. Speaking of guns, this paragraph. Currently, Igneous Hammer is ruling this mode along with some other 140s because of how their damage ends up working out. Igneous Hammer, 2 crits in a body is enough to kill, which is basically the same as regular Crucible. So I know there's been some annoyance with people about how hand cannons feel overly dominant in the mode because they still kill pretty much just as quickly in this mode versus non-checkmate modes. On the other hand, 4 headshots to kill seems a bit brutal to do to hand cannons, so I'm not sure mathematically how Bungie could keep hand cannons in the mode but not have them be absolutely dominant. They're dominant in regular PvP, sure, but in this mode in particular, other guns take longer to kill. Hand cannons just don't. So if you want to maximize your potential, you just still use a hand cannon and everything else is just worse. Bungie would need to completely recalibrate all time to kill values across all weapons to adjust for the increased health, and this is ultimately just a test of the concept. It's not like every other weapon is completely unusable, as we're about to discuss, but the weapon I died to the most was, by far and away, Igneous Hammer. So what did I actually try in this mode? I want to start with Vex Mythoclast. I feel like I have only heard terrible things about Vex Mythoclast since it had its RPM reduced. It's now a 360 versus being a 390. Now, I will say I haven't used it anywhere else yet, but in Checkmate, this thing still shreds pretty darn well. It still has that bounce vector, and yes, the range is maybe a little bit low, but it didn't feel like it was too often. In the right conditions, you're still absolutely going to torch people, and I still think it's really good. Maybe I'll do a full video on Vex Mythoclast later. I wouldn't hold your breath, though. I mentioned Bad Juju earlier. I tried that out, and on the first day, actually had quite a lot of success with it. It can kill in 3 bursts, but almost every shot needs to be a headshot, and that can be quite a tough ask with a gun that is as bouncy as Bad Juju is. I did like it a lot more than Revision Zero's 2-burst mode, and that's just because of how the math works out with Revision Zero. I was routinely hitting people with 3 bursts in a row, all headshots, and not killing my target, and having to take that extra shot can just really kill the vibe on Revision Zero. I also tried Outbreak Perfected, but it was only for a couple of games, and I really did not find it that remarkable. Another weapon that was absolutely destroying me was Thorn, but I think that basically links up with the fact that hand cannons are just so good in this mode with current HP values, so we're just going to move on from that one. Quicksilver Storm wasn't doing too bad either. Didn't really get to use that for a super long time, and again, I just felt outclassed by Igneous Hammer at pretty much every step of the way. Armor-wise, I know that there are definitely going to be certain exotic armor that end up being better or worse as a result of playing in Checkmate. Stuff that buffs your abilities obviously doesn't have as much value, but stuff that boosts your regeneration rates are probably still strong. The Stag is the easiest example I can think of as a way to get around a lot of those reduced regeneration rates by just getting big chunks of class ability energy back. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this, but it's still something to keep track of if Bungie ever iterates on this modifier after this season, which I really hope that they do. Another gripe that I have is with the spawns. Because flags are capped so quickly and so easily, and also another thing that I'm going to talk about, the amount of shuffling of spawns is really high. Not to mention the various times where I'm just shot in the back from people respawning where I myself just respawned, or respawning near the enemy, or being shot as I'm spawning in. There were multiple times where I just ping-ponged around the map with regards to my spawn. I'm at A flag, I'm at B flag, I'm at C flag, I'm back to A, I'm back to C, because the zones can flip so quickly, and that occasionally made it difficult to get into any kind of a rhythm. It also felt like I was helpless a chunk of the time because there's just nothing you can do about 3 people spawning behind you. I also don't know what it is about this game mode that makes people want to stick in a blob for the entire match. But if you are not traveling in a group of 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes all 6 of you, you are going to have a really bad time trying to find balanced engagements. Because let me tell you, as someone who likes to spread out, you know, kind of fill the map, I frequently found myself in imbalanced fights. I frequently saw entire enemy teams in just a blob running around. Full random groups, not stacks, they're not in Discord, they're not in voice chat. My team, their team, just blob running. I don't know if this is just Checkmate itself or the entirety of PvP. I didn't feel like it was happening that much in regular PvP, but man, is it annoying as someone who likes to try to fill the space of a map and get some map control. Now, of course, right after I finished my entire video and right before it was about to go live, Bungie has come out with an update on the sandbox with regards to the weapon balance in Checkmate. Essentially what they said in the 2 big paragraphs that are linked in the description was the following. Because special weapon uptime was reduced, that allowed certain primaries to dominate, like SMGs and sidearms because there was no shotgun counter, and scouts because there's no sniper counter. They also wanted to avoid making very jarring shifts in time to kill times, like hand cannons taking 4 shots to kill, like I mentioned, but Bungie has seen how much hand cannons are outperforming other weapons, and they are making a tuning pass at a bunch of different guns. Fighting Lion and bows have a damage penalty now. Hooray, I hate those. Devil's Ruin's laser beam also got a bigger penalty. I only saw Devil's Ruin once, but I guess it was problematic enough. Sidearms had their damage penalty reduced from 10 to 5%, SMGs from 5 to 0%, and scouts from 10 to 9%. I'm sure that was done for a reason. Autos got a 2% damage bonus boost, and pulses got a 5% damage boost, while hand cannons' 10% boost is now reduced to 7%. Also, apparently, Mythoclast was benefiting from the bonus damage for special ammo fusion rifles, which is why it was maybe feeling as good as it was. Although, despite that, I barely remember seeing Vex Mythoclast in Checkmate at all during the many hours that I played, which I found a little surprising. I love the fact that Bungie has already come in and made some adjustments. I was worried that they were just going to let this ride for 6 weeks and then we were just never going to hear from it again. But them updating the sandbox this quickly, it's pretty good stuff. Overall, I really enjoyed the pace of Checkmate much more than I do the current version of PvP in the game with regards to like the ability spam and how quickly we're dying. I wouldn't want to see the current version of PvP go away, as I know people like it, but so far I vastly prefer the slower pace of play in Checkmate with regards, again, to abilities. I like that I actually have to think about my ability usage. I like that not every engagement has a grenade being thrown my way. Not every warlock is healing around the corner. I prefer being able to actually shoot guns at an enemy, and that's what's deciding the engagement most of the time. It still feels like Destiny to me. I don't feel like the soul of Destiny has been ripped out by playing this mode. I'm also interested in hearing your thoughts. I know I'm not PvP guy, but I still wanted to chime in anyway, and also, LOL, literally what else is there to talk about right now? Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.